Oh, do we have a title? It's Prize Picks. Okay. Right, of course. What's up, Vikings fans, Lions fans? Welcome to Locked On Crossover Thursday. Locked On Lions, Locked On Vikings, teaming up here. You'll have to splice in your own intro. Welcome, everybody, to both the Locked On Vikings and Locked On Lions podcasts, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Luke Braun. I'm with Locked On Vikings, here with Matt Dery of Locked On Lions, ready to talk about a Week 3 matchup between the top two teams in the NFC North, I believe, if you go by tiebreakers. Vikings and Lions. It's our division, baby.
That's right, Luke, and always great to see you, my friend. And what a game this should be. This should be a lot of fun. People in Detroit are excited. First road game for the Lions this year. And can they go into Minnesota and do something they almost did last year? And let's get a win.
Right. Well, they split the series last year.
They did, but that game in Minnesota, I think, stung a little bit. That was the game where Dan Campbell cried after the game because Justin Tucker had beaten them the week before with a 60-yard field goal or,
Oh, that's
65-yard field goal or 66-yard field goal. And then Greg Joseph the next week, and Campbell was just, he was so hurt, and he wanted his players to enjoy that first win, and it didn't come, but they ended up beating the Vikings, like you said, later on in the season at home.
They did get their first win against the Vikings, famously, and that was basically the straw that you guys basically killed Mike Zimmer. Like, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. He was already on like the hottest of hot seats, and they would have had to make the playoffs to do it. But after losing on Sunday night to Cooper Rush, the next kind of big watershed moment in the building was that Lions game. And coming off of that, it was basically, that was when it was kind of set in stone. Like, all right, you guys have to make a comeback and make the playoffs, or else we're cleaning house. And they kind of knew that Zimmer fell apart after that, like as a person.
Yeah. And, obviously the Lions are sort of a year ahead of the Vikings in terms of the new regime type of thing, but
Yeah.
this is no rebuild for Minnesota, right?
They're calling it a competitive rebuild, like a rebuild on the fly type thing. I've been calling it, I think a better word is a transition year, because you're not really expecting them to just like pop in and be 11-6, like they're getting some growing pains out, like you saw it on Monday night. A lot of miscommunications. They're all learning a new scheme. There's some holes on the roster that haven't quite been filled. They're sort of halfway committed to Kirk Cousins, but not really. They're sort of in a transitional period before they get to what I think their real, true long-term plan is, and they're still just sort of doing stuff on the fly. But let's talk a little bit about like the matchup itself, because what I want to know about the Lions, and this is what everybody's talking about in Minnesota too, is this offense, I mean, you're putting up like 35 a game. Is this for real? Especially the rushing offense? We'll get into matchups and stuff, but like, is this really this high flying, we're going to score 30 a game kind of unit?
Well, actually, if you really think about it, Luke, they don't have Jameson Williams yet, and that was going to be their home run threat, second first round pick, who's probably not going to be ready until November, due to coming back from the torn ACL at Alabama in the national championship game. So they've been very good so far. Amon-Ra St. Brown is continuing with that unbelievable pace that he had the last 8 games of last year. Continues to just make catch after catch. He's wide open, it seems like, every play. Jared Goff has had time to throw and has looked good the first 2 weeks. And DeAndre Swift is starting to come on. Then you throw in Hawkinson and Josh Reynolds and DJ Chark. Offensive line has a lot of depth. They missed 3 starters last week, yet they still won the line of scrimmage from Washington. So, it's exciting. It'll be interesting to see how they do against the Minnesota defense, which obviously in week 1 looked pretty good. And the other night couldn't stop Jalen Hurts, but neither could the Lions in week 1.
Yeah, and on Monday night, I mean, they fell apart defensively. There were busts and miscommunications, and they weren't really playing zone. They weren't playing zone match, which is kind of what we were sold, which is what you would expect from like somebody off the Fangio tree. They were playing like old school landmark zones, like what you would do, when you're ahead 2 scores in the fourth quarter, but they played it the whole game and it just got ripped apart. But there were also just like a ton of mistakes. But really, what the Vikings are right now, this is the key to this game. The Vikings are arguably have the worst run defense in the league, and the Lions arguably have the best run offense in the league. Do you think, like, do you agree with that with the Lions? Like, is this the best rushing offense in the league?
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. I mean, I always thought when you got a guy like Eric Hendricks on your team, that the Vikings defense would be better. I don't know if he's regressed, if the injury, if he's still not back 100%.
No,
You
he's
tell
good.
me.
It's not his fault.
Yeah, but he's so good that I would never think that I would see all these chunk plays against the Vikings in the ground game. And obviously, again, Jalen Hurts last week was running wild and ran wild against the Lions the week before. So maybe it's a Hurts thing. But no, Lions offensive line loves to run block. They've got a nice little dynamic duo here of Swift and Jamal Williams. Play calling's been good. They had a sort of a counter play, a couple of counter plays in week one, came back with it in week two with their pulling guards. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown coming in motion, quick jet sweep to him. He goes for 68 on the ground the other day. So there's some creativity along with the fact that they've established the run and they like it. What's been the Vikings' problem against the run for the first two games?
So some of it is just a concession where I think they lead the league by like a lot in light boxes. They just aren't they just keep everybody up on the roof and they say, you're not supposed to be able to throw deep on us and we'll let you run if that's what you want to do, but no chunk plays, no explosives. Fell apart against Philadelphia because they busted coverages. You can't do that, right? No plan works if your players screw up that much. But and the players themselves are like, yeah, we screwed everything up. Like it was just a catastrophe of a game.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just light boxes. You just you could bring out two tight ends and you'll still get a 6-man box. Then you can just run on that all day if you want. And the Vikings are just kind of okay with that because nobody wins the game 4 yards at a time, So that's probably it. But it's like that combined with Eric Kendricks is a phenomenal linebacker, but he's not a people mover. They kind of got linemen on him, locked him down, and you can blocking sled him. He's a smaller linebacker. He's a finesse kind of guy. Some of that happened. They rotated in a lot of backup defensive line. They have an awesome front four. Love Harrison Phillips. Love Dalvin Tomlinson, Darius Smith, Daniel Hunter. That's awesome. And then they rotated in the backups like way too much. Like I think they were trying to keep people too fresh, or they were worried about it being a night game or something. Or they thought that guys like Ross Blacklock or James Lynch would have some juice. These guys got absolutely cooked. And a lot of the big run plays happened when they didn't even have all the starters out. So it's some of that stuff that's not sustainable, and some of it that like is just kind of an on-purpose concession for the sake of the rest of everything. I think that's the real like key to this game. But maybe we could talk next about like the individual matchups, and then later in the show we'll get all of our predictions and stuff out of the way. So that's what's coming up next.
Hey, but we got to tell you about Nugenix. Luke and I were talking before the show about Nugenix. And if you're getting older, that means your body is changing. Maybe getting a bit of a dad bod like yours truly here, feeling a little less like your old self. Well, you don't have time to work out, but you wanted the energy and body you once had. That's why you got to discover Nugenix. And you'll feel revived, working out like you used to. It's not your fault. Men age, body changes, all these things. You want more energy to counter the negative physical effects of aging? Try Nugenix Total T Testosterone Booster with Testofen. We'll help you turn back the clock, re-energize your workouts, get you better results at the gym, and help you look and feel like the man you really want to be. Nugenix Total T contains man-boosting key ingredients like Testofen. It's been validated in 5 clinical studies shown to boost free testosterone levels in men. Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC, can really help re-energize your life, help you get back to that powerful, confident, good-looking warrior, Luke, that you used to be. Now get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T when you text NFL to 231-231. Text now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, their most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you get back into shape fast and absolutely free. Text NFL to 231-231. That's texting NFL to 231-231. Message and data rates may apply. Terms apply. Available at nugenix.com/terms.
Keeping it going here with this crossover Thursday episode of Locked on Vikings and Locked on Lions. Talk about some individual people here. So Aiden Hutchinson didn't practice, but I was really looking forward to the Aiden Hutchinson versus DJ Wanham Bowl of who can generate the most cleanup and unearned sacks.
I'll
I hated
say
him
this
coming
about
out.
Well, I think Aiden Hutchinson's going to be fine. He had a Charlie horse in the game Sunday. He was kind of walking gingerly after the game. They asked him about it, and he said, "I'm fine." Doesn't practice on Wednesday. They're calling it a thigh injury. He's going to be out there. I think he's going to be really, really pumped up to try to get at Kirk Cousins. Remember, Aiden Hutchinson's a Wolverine. Kirk Cousins is a Spartan. I think there's Aiden Hutchinson's going to find a way to try to get back there. It's a sitting target. He spent week one chasing Jalen Hurts. Last week licked his chops to go up against Carson Wentz, and Wentz ran into a couple of sacks, but Hutchinson really played well. But first road game, big test for the Lions to sort of show their fan base, hey, can we go on the road in the division and win? Remember, last year they were 0-8-1 on the road. So I think he'll play, and I think that will be something to watch for sure. That matchup, and I think they'll move him around. I think you're going to see Hutchinson against Wanham. I think you're going to see him on the other side. And I think you'll see him on the inside too.
Aiden Hutchinson. He's our own kind of only quickster guy. Because everything I see, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong here with Hutchinson, but everything I see is when he's just trying to go, he doesn't have a bull rush. He doesn't have a go through you, push you off the ball kind of move. He's got this lightning quick swim, and he's got a lot of kind of quickness, but he's sort of only twitch. And if you get your hand, and we've got big guys like Ezra Cleveland and Christian Darrisaw have heavy punches. There's a lot of just knock you 4 yards back and suddenly you're on your knees somehow kind of clips from those guys. But I don't know, get him on Bradbury, who might set up a little bit, build his house a little bit slower, and maybe you have something.
I don't know. I think you tell me. The other night I found that the Vikings, the Lions tried to get the football out fast against Brandon Graham and the Eagles, and that worked. The other night, Kirk Cousins is getting the shotgun snap, seven-step drops.
5, yeah, no extra protection.
Are they going to try to get the ball out? Are they going to be that concerned about Hutchinson, Charles Harris, and the Lions? Pretty decent pass rush. Are they going to get the ball out a little quicker this week, or what?
I don't know. They did not run a ton of quick game against the Eagles. Yeah, and that was probably a mistake because the Eagles sort of realized that and they just started blitzing. It wasn't even exotic blitzes or creative pressures. It was let's just send 7 and see what happens. Oh, he almost threw a pick. Let's do that again. Oh, he threw a pick. That sequence basically word for word happened. So I don't know what Kevin O'Connell's going to do. It seems like he's going to come out with pretty drastically different game plans for each team. And he came out with a really specified game plan for what he thought he was going to saw from Philadelphia. He thought he was going to see from Philadelphia, and he just didn't see that, and he just kind of didn't have another pitch to go to. And he even admitted that. He was like, yeah, I didn't do enough. I didn't have it right. We didn't get looks we thought we were going to get, and sort of ruined everything. So play calling wise, I still don't have a great grasp of what you're going to see. Yeah. But the goal is going to be to get the ball to Justin Jefferson and to funnel everything through him. Everybody else is a support role, and Justin Jefferson is the focal point. If you take Justin Jefferson away, they're going to kind of make it so, and just because he's Justin Jefferson, you have to spend a lot of defensive resources to do it. You have to always have a safety over top. You have to lighten out the box to do it. You have to do a lot of stuff to guarantee no one-on-ones with Justin Jefferson and someone that's not good enough to cover him. And I don't mean corners, I mean linebackers. But to pay that off, Philly just said, okay, well, we'll cap you then. Or a lot of times it was, we'll man-to-man with a safety over the top, and we'll do that. And we'll live in cover 2 man all day. And the Vikings just did not have anything else go right. Guys weren't getting enough separation. And a lot of it was just Kirk Cousins not finding it and not being able to respond to the blitz, and then just sort of dissolving as the night wore on.
Well, and that's where I'm interested in watching Sunday, because Aaron Glenn sends the house. He loves to blitz. Last year it was real vanilla defense. It was just our roster stinks. Let's do nice and easy and straight vanilla, nothing. And this year all of a sudden they were coming after Jalen Hurts. They were coming after Wentz. My concern is if they don't get home and it's Jefferson one-on-one against Okudah, Oruwariye, and Jeff's been better. Amani Oruwariye was hurt a week ago. If Oruwariye is banged up and the back still isn't there, and they can somehow get Jefferson on a guy like Will Harris and it's single coverage and they pick up the blitz, big trouble. That's something to watch for sure.
I wonder what the plan will be. Will it be pick up the blitz? Let's keep a lot of, let's do 7-man, 8-man protections, pick up your blitz, and just see if we can't get Justin Jefferson isolated on the backside of the play and test him down the field. Jefferson versus Okuda. Let's take it and test it. And, mano a mano, let the game come down to our best player,
Yeah, that's
Or
what I
do
would
they
do
say,
if you're Minnesota.
I think that's what I would do too. Or do they say 5-man protection? Let's go empty. Let's go air raid, spread everything way out. And if you want to blitz, it's vacating a part of the field and we have to trust Kirk Cousins to get the ball out, which he usually is really quick to get the ball out. But last week he wasn't. So I don't know how much I trust that anymore. Or do they say, all right, last week was messed up. We talked about it. We've got the problem fixed and let's go right back at the same thing. I think that might be what this comes down to. But so I should expect like a lot of blitzing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
That's you're gonna. Aaron Glenn is not gonna hold back. And after watching Monday night, I'm sure all the coaches were sitting there with a 6-pack of beer, sitting back and watching. He couldn't handle Philly's blitz. Aaron Glenn will dial it up. I think he really will.
All right, one more question then, because of course the Vikings defense basically backed off and played straight zone the whole time. So my question is, how quickly is Jared Goff getting rid of it? Because if I remember, he was a hold the ball kind of guy a lot for a lot of his career. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but is he getting rid of? Is he seeing the field? Is he reading things and zipping these?
He is. He's seeing the field. I think that last year it was dink and dunk, and it was a lot of just check down Charlie City here, Brad Johnson style. I think now they're taking a few more shots downfield. But no, Goff's not holding the ball too long. I think they're trying to get it out pretty quickly. But the routes they're running, St. Brown and his speed, they haven't really involved Chark yet. They had a touchdown catch in the Philly game. I think you'll see something with him down the field a little bit. But no, they don't want him holding the ball too long, and especially against Danielle Hunter, who seems to eat the Lions alive no matter who is on that offensive line.
But that's one of the best lines in the league, right? Or is that just a run blocking thing?
No, I think the line's been good. Again, let's see if Frank Ragnow plays. Let's see if Jonah Jackson plays. Ragnow is not 100% and kind of just lightly practiced Wednesday. Jackson's got this finger injury. He might not play. If they don't have all of their bullets in the chamber, that may change things a little bit because I think they're seeing a better front this week than they saw last week against Washington, which didn't have Chase Young and didn't have their second-round pick, the D tackle. So be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see because this has not been a physical defense. This has been a very back it off, keep it in front of you, a very finessey defense so far. Kind of a run up and hit you defense. You got safeties flying in and lighten you up a little bit, but it hasn't been a push at the point of attack kind of let's just be more physical and dominate you strength wise kind of defense. And it feels like that's what you have to be to beat the Lions. And I mean, a lot of people are like, don't take the Lions for granted. I've been the person roasting the Lions the most probably for the last 2 years, especially on Locked On NFL, because they have deserved it. But this seems like a real team that's worth taking seriously.
It does.
So I guess we'll have to predict what happens here. Last I checked, the BetOnline line for this game was Vikings by 6.5. So 3.5 points better on a neutral field plus home field advantage. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
I do. I'm surprised. It started off at 7.5. I saw it at
one. Moved down. People have been betting the Lions after Monday night.
At one point, it was down to 5.5, 6.5. This doesn't surprise me. I think the Lions have actually been a pretty good bet. Even last year, they covered a bunch of games, so that number doesn't surprise me. I think it'll be smaller as the week goes on. If they announce Ragnow and Jackson missing the game, the spread the other day went way down. The Lions were favored by a couple, and then it was a pick by game time. So we'll see. I think it's. What do you think? I think it's about right. I
think maybe I'm being a homer. I think that's, no, I'm being a hater. I think that's a little much. Basically all the goodwill they had from week one evaporated by about halftime on Monday night, and now they are a team with everything to prove. So, I think the Lions have everything to prove. Can you go on the road? Can you beat? You had. The Commanders are not good, but hanging with the Eagles, they did better than we did against the Eagles. You were at home and we weren't, so maybe that's something. But I feel like it'll be a little closer than that off of my instinct. But my instinct also sucks. And if you think you can do better, then bet it at betonline.net. It's your one-stop shop for all things betting on sports. You can bet on, of course, this game. You can bet on any game all year. You can just go fast forward to week 9 and bet a game if you felt so inclined. You can also do wacky player props, over-unders for players like Amon-Ra St. Brown or Justin Jefferson. You can build crazy parlays. I know everybody loves to do that. You can even bet right in the middle of the game. If one team's out to a 2-score lead and you sense that this is the kind of game where somebody is going to collapse, which, I don't know, feels like both teams have that in them, you could bet that. And right in the middle of the game, you can bet like live spreads as they move, as teams get leads. You can find all of that and much, much more at betonline.net, where the game starts. So we kind of got into it a little bit, but we can kind of go into some predictions here. The score prediction is one thing. We can do that because I know people want to do that. But I want something a little more salient here. Give me a prediction for A, who's going to win, and B, what's the main story Monday morning that we're all talking about for why that team won.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think Luke. I think the Lions are going to play well. I do. I don't know if they're going to win. I'm going to say Minnesota bounces back at home, and the Lions still kind of are searching for that signature road win. I don't know if they're going to get it this week. I think they'll cover. I think this is going to be about a 27-24. I've had that score 3 weeks in a row. I really have. I picked the Lions to win last week. I thought they would beat the Commanders. I'm not a Carson Wentz fan, and I knew they'd bounce back. And they led 22-0 at the half. Right. But I think the Vikings, it might be similar to last year, maybe a late field goal and kind of a 3-point Minnesota win. I don't think Cousins will play as poorly as he did last week. I don't know why you guys didn't run Dalvin Cook more. Swift had all that, success against the Eagles, but that's neither here nor there.
And he didn't practice either, right?
Right. So Swift, no, but he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
He'll play?
Yes,
okay.
He'll play. But I think we're going to be talking about Monday. I think some fans will say, oh my gosh, this team's getting better and they didn't get blown out and they were right there. And others will say, same old Lions, they can't finish, but I think that they'll be in it, and I think that they'll play well. But I think Minnesota, I think Jefferson will be too much. I think if you guys get the ball to Smith, I think there's some matchup issues there for the Lions linebackers. So that's what I'm going with. What do you think?
Yeah, I just published a really long diatribe about like a big long film breakdown about Irv Smith and kind of caping for him because he had that big drop, but I thought he did a lot of other good things in that game and sort of a defense of his night as a whole. And I think he can be a really big part of this game plan.
Yes.
So just checked it. It is currently at as of this recording at BetOnline -6, over under 52.5. So that implies something like a 30-23, 29-23 Viking victory. I think being home matters a lot, and I think the narrative of this game for the Vikings is going to be either, if they win, it's going to be, look at how they bounced back, look at the resilience, their culture is fixed, now it's not a spiral. And if they don't, it's going to be, oh no, is the culture still broken? Because that's kind of the narrative right now is, okay, you just got punched in the mouth for the first time. So all this kumbaya and all this collaboration stuff that the Vikings have been peddling all off season, now it gets put to the test. Can you stop something bad on the field from becoming, inner turmoil and stop it from arguing? Can you still work together, learn together? All the players are swearing by it and they say, hey, yeah, we love it. We just lost and it sucks, but we're not getting yelled at, where it's not contentious. We're all just getting better and we're just trying to learn here from this. And we can all get together and work together to do that. And it's great. And so does that translate to the field, or do they need to get yelled at a little bit? That's going to be what it is. My instinct, I guess, tells me that this is going to be a harder Lions game than Lions at home has been in the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh, for sure.
That game has been a freebie a couple times, and certainly not this time. And I think that spread's a little thick, but I still think the Vikings win. So I'm going to go with something like I'll go 27-26. I'm going to say a close game.
Yeah, I can see it.
I could see it being a lot more high scoring than that, although that does cover the spread. So that is me calling the over. And I think this is one that kind of comes down to who can find the best little wrinkle, who can find the best rip in the seams of the opposing defense, because both of these defenses have shown cracks in the armor.
Oh, yeah.
And whoever can find and exploit it the most consistently is going to be the team that can really take this one home. And it also feels like the game that isn't over in the third quarter when one team's up 2 scores, you know?
Yeah.
So I could see this kind of coming down to the wire. I could see this having, this crazy fourth quarter. But I do think that ultimately the Vikings just have enough talent by a big enough margin to take this one home at home. But hey, when we meet again at Ford Field, my tune might be different, but we'll know a lot more about the Vikings by then and the Lions.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, Lions defense has definitely had its issues already. I think it's better, but there are still some holes there, and we'll see if they can respond and cover Jefferson. I'm telling you, Smith against the Lions linebackers could be trouble. But Luke, always a pleasure, my man. Great to chat.
Yeah, always love chatting with you. Thanks for coming on the Minnesota football party as well. Y'all can
the other
check
day was
that out.
fun. Good to see Locked On alumnus Sam Ekstrom as well.
Yeah. Oh, the OG Locked On Vikings host.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, good times. And we'll see you. When is the next game? The other Viking Lion game.
Oh my gosh! I grabbed a pocket schedule the other day. I was in a store and they had Lions pocket schedules. I don't remember off the top of my head when these two teams play again, but
December 11th. So we'll see.
Always a pleasure to hang with you, Luke.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Matt. Everybody on Locked On Vikings, you can go check out Locked On Lions, see what they're saying about us. And Locked On Lions listeners, you're more than welcome to come over, scout the enemy over here. Fridays get weird on this show, so you should enjoy it. So we will see you all tomorrow on our respective shows. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Crossover Thursday, brought to you by PrizePicks.com. Daily fantasy made easy. Just pick your 2 to 5 players. If they get more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money. And first time signups get 100% match up to $100 by entering promo code Locked On at PrizePicks.com or by downloading the app. That's promo code Locked On at PrizePicks.com. See y'all tomorrow.